Hey, good evening. Welcome to Captive Audience. I'm Sunny Danforth with a little bit of itchy nose there. Well, we've got a few things to cover tonight, so I'm just going to dive right in. Well, maybe not quite that fast. It's been a beautiful day here. We've had a little bit of sprinkles of rain, the temperature's cooled off, and it smells so good outside. It just smells so good. Well, things are politically heating up. But we're not going to start there yet. Thank you, Lori. Yes, happy Friday. I'll tell you, if you've got children in the school, you need to pay attention. There's two articles here. One is about a North Salem teacher. This was reported back in May. He had resigned after state concludes he sexually abused students. And this was in the Salem Kaiser School District. And it's awful when we have predators around children. And believe me, they are predators. If they are trying to dissuade them or coerce them or groom them to do things that they normally wouldn't do, especially in a sexually explicit nature. So, this article, he resigned. What happened after that, I actually don't know. I don't have an account on this, so I can't read that particular story. But I do have another one that I can, and it's came out today. It's a press release from the Portland Public Schools. And a teacher with, it's not a press release from the Portland Public School. I stand corrected. It's actually a press release from the Portland Police Bureau. And which I'll post a link of this into, hey family, nice to see ya. I will post this here, this link to this police report. And it is about a teacher with the Portland Public Schools is in custody and facing one felony charge of luring a minor following a weeks-long investigation that actually started out in California. And the police in California in a city had contacted Portland Police Bureau and said, hey, you need to pay attention to this guy. And they started an online account and started having interaction with this fellow, Craig Doug Myers. And he was thinking that he was talking with a 13-year-old, and he was trying to lure this child away. And so he's now in custody. It's wonderful when they catch these predators, because that's exactly what they are. They are absolute predators. And so he's got a felony charge luring a minor, and I'm happy about that. Beware of the predators. Beware of public school. Beware if your child is secretly texting or communicating with a teacher outside of school. These things truly aren't normal. And, parents need to pay attention to what children are doing on their phones. So another story that doesn't really, it kind of goes with it. It has to do with children. This that I found the other day and on Wednesday, but I didn't talk about it, but I want to put it to here today, because here in the United States, you would think that all of this transgender stuff is everywhere, right? It's getting so shoved down our throats here in the United States. And trust me, it is a very small group of people that's doing that. So the story that I just posted that I saw Wednesday is from PJ Media, and it says Eastern European nation in EU, their European Union, crosshairs after outline child transgender propaganda. And when I read that headline, I cheered because there are a lot of countries, many, that are making it illegal. They are changing laws and saying, we're not doing this anymore. There's many that are saying, we're not following this one world order, 2030 project and what. That's the good news. And so Hungary has learned the hard way, as did Georgia, that when you change your laws, then by golly, the European Union's going to come back and they're going to try to hit you. They're going to try to fine you because you're doing not following EU protocol. So on August 7th, the Parliament of Bulgaria passed an amendment to the law for preschool and school age education, banning the LGBT propaganda in schools by a massive majority of 159 votes in favor to 22 opposed and 12 abstentions. This is fabulous. And so there are several countries that are doing this type of thing. But what they're getting is these, we've heard of the term NGO, these non-governmental organizations. So when this type of what I deem good action happens by the legislatures, then NGOs are coming over there and they are trying to pressure and bribe. Here we have it's called I call it legalized bribery, but that when we're lobbyists are frankly it's just legalized bribery here in the United States. That then they put a bunch of pressure, on these nations that are doing that. And they're going to threaten them. You're not going to get any funding or who knows what, and these NGOs come from the United States and Western Europe. So I just wanted to, I know it's sort of a good story, but it is an awareness to know that that there is pushback and there has to be pushback at every level from every country. And I think it's just I just think it's really good, um, that they are doing that. But it's the George Soros group, the World Economic Forum, the globalists that want all of this. And it's really a shame because it's not it just isn't, one, it's not natural and it's not necessary. It is grooming children. It's screwing up a generation of children to think that there's 52 genders or however many they say there are now, or you could be furry. They've got I have a friend in Washington whose child goes to school, not right now, but last year, and they had a couple of furries and had to put a cat box in. I said I'd have yanked my kid right out of school, or I'd have been in the school board meetings, one or both of those things, and put pressure, until those things change. So, but trust me, these countries are taking a hit. They're taking a lot of pressure to undo that kind of thing. So keep praying for Bulgaria and keep the demons at the gates. I just thought that was a great story. Something totally different now is this is also from PJ Media. In fact, I'm going to tell you, I like PJ Media. And if you recall, one of our founding members of Captive Audience, Jeff Reynolds, he writes for PJ Media. And it's an organization that is supported by the readership, and I would subscribe. I totally would subscribe, and because you get some good news there. But anyway, the story is Utah files a suit for control of Bureau of Land Management land. It's like, yes. So on Tuesday, I know today's Friday, but on Tuesday, Governor Spencer Cox out of Utah, he announced that the state had filed suit against the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, not the Black Lives Matter BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, to gain control over 18.5 million acres under the agency's control. And according to the press release from the governor's office, the state has asked the U.S. Supreme Court for a ruling on whether a federal agency can indefinitely control unappropriated land within a state. I love this because, quite frankly, I think the bureaucratic agencies have grasped too much of our public lands. And so I think this is really good. But to contrast this, our governor, Tina Kotek, asks Biden to designate Oregon's Grand Canyon a national monument if Congress doesn't. And, the Auwee Canyon lands in southeast Oregon is what she would like. So there's been, following nearly 5 years of negotiations and 3 attempts by Oregon's U.S. senators to get federal protection for the Auwee Canyon lands, Governor Kotek is now throwing her hat into the fight and has wrote to President Biden, asking that he designate a large share of the 2.5 million acre canyon lands and a stretch of the Auwee River, often called Oregon's Grand Canyon, a national monument under the Antiquities Act of 1906. So just know that could very much be coming. And I would say, write your Congress, men and women, now, and say, no, that's not what we want. If that's what you feel like. For me, I don't think so. I'm for less government and less government taking control of the land. And so, yeah. Now, I'm afraid, let's see, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I don't know. You could say, do you like to get permission to go visit your public lands and pay a fee and pay a fine and then say, well, now we're too full, sorry, we've got too many now coming in. So I don't know. I personally, I'm not for it, but that's just me, and that's okay. It's okay. We don't have to always agree. That's the beauty of America. Well, so let's talk about Oregon politics a little bit. Because right now, and as I had written about tonight's show, is, we're going to talk about Trump and also Bobby Kennedy Jr. and RFK Jr. and his decision today. But what is it that we can do to help Oregon? And I don't know what district you all live in, but for example, I'm in the 2nd Congressional District. Cliff Benz is my congressman. He's going to win hands down. I don't need to exert any energy, and we don't need to exert any energy to help him get elected. But let me tell you, we've got races in Oregon that can make a huge difference for the state of Oregon, but also in Congress. And I was at a Republican women meeting yesterday, actually. And this wonderful group of ladies that I'm a member of, they wanted to donate money. And they said, let's donate money to Lathrop and Linthicum. And so we kind of kicked it around a bit. And I said, wait a minute, what about we've got Eric Erickson? His race is razor tight. And then we have Monique Despain, the same thing. These are 2 more seats that we could pick up. And these candidates can use money for commercials. Right now is the time that they need money to be able to do commercials. And so actually our little group of women decided to donate to all 4 of those candidates to help them with commercials. And so I'm going to throw in one more, and that is Lori Chavez DeRemer, because she is in a tight race of CD5. And she's running for reelection. And, Bynum is running against her. And I'll tell you, we need to help these other candidates get elected. And if you can do calling for them, whatever you can do, go door knock for them, hand out literature, or just donate money if you can't do any of that or you don't live in their area. And this is how we can make a difference in Oregon. It is by helping these other candidates. So Will Lathrop for Attorney General, Dennis Linthicum for Secretary of State. We have Monique Despain for CD4, Lori Chavez DeRemer for CD5, and Eric Erickson for CD6. And I wouldn't say, in fact, because if there weren't tight races, I would say, just don't throw money after a race that's not going to win. But I'm telling you, right now, it came out yesterday, and I will post this from Oregon Catalyst, that there a polling, it's a graph that came out that shows Eric Erickson is actually over Salinas. And this is great. It's a shock. Congress number 6 upset. Salinas is falling. If we could pick up 3 more seats in Congress for Oregon, this is amazing. We need this in Congress. We need this. And so apparently Erickson outperforms CD4, and it's just, I'm sorry, CD6. He is +4. He's actually +4, almost 3.2. And he is doing, he's doing great. So we need to help him get over the line for this election. It's what we need. We need to help Congress win seats. And so I just wanted to tell you about that, and because that's what we need to do. It helps our nation and it helps Oregon, and it's going to be that would be just fabulous. Now, I want to also talk about ranked choice voting and the measures just a little bit. I covered them last week on Friday, and this is an article from Coin about ranked choice voting explained. Now, there's going to be good things to learn out of this article. And so that's why I'm posting a link here. And it is that ranked choice voting, as it's going to be, voters will need to undergo several rounds before a decision is made. That's why in Alaska, they call it voter fatigue, because it's not just a primary and then a general. You have to keep voting, especially if you've got 19 candidates or however many you might have. And so counting ranked choice votes in Portland this November could take weeks, the officials say, because Portland is the first city in Oregon, I believe it's the first, to implement ranked choice voting. They voted that in. And in November, they're going to be doing it. And they have several candidates to get elect for city council and whatnot. But their outcome could take weeks. Well, hell, Oregon elected that you can receive ballots for a whole nother week after Election Day, which I really hope Judicial Watch comes here, and I hope the Supreme Court makes a decision on that very soon, that we can stop that here in Oregon. But it's going to be because voting goes on for a whole nother week after election day to receive ballots. Then beyond that is the certification. And in Portland, the voters are going to choose the mayor, the city auditor, and 12 city councilors. And but local election officials want to warn the voters that it could take days or weeks before the state can tally all the results. And it's because there will be multiple rounds of results. And that's the part where if you've got, let's just say you had five candidates, and this one didn't receive enough 50% plus one for majority to win, then that person would be dropped off, and then they recalibrate these people get the votes of this one that's no longer there. It's not who you voted for, and then this one doesn't get the 50% plus one. So this person is now dropped out, and they have to recalibrate. And I don't know the formula. They might not even know the formula, but then they recalibrate the votes that you didn't vote for these either. And let's say you voted for these two. These were your top two. Well, they've just been eliminated, and now this person here has just won the majority, even though these two might have gotten the most votes out of the whole thing, and these two got the least votes. It's a crazy thing. We don't want it, and we really don't want to pass that. Let me tell you, we don't want to pass that at all. So it's going to be interesting seeing how it comes out. And it says that there's no way to predict how many rounds it could take for a candidate. Oh, listen to this. See, I thought it was 50% plus one. Portland City Council, it is 25% plus one. So in multiple winter races, like for the city council, it says, quoting, "There's no way to predict how many rounds it could take for candidates to reach the 25% plus one vote threshold to declare a victory." So let's see. Now you are divvying up the ballots, the votes amongst those candidates, and it only takes 25% to win instead of 50% plus one, which is what we have now. Now, is that how they wrote the rule for the ranked choice voting of 117? I'm sorry, I don't have that answer. Maybe somebody here does. And on an average, it says here, an average of about 20 candidates are running for the 4 city council districts. So that means it could take as many rounds to declare the 12 winners. And so it's 3 per district, it looks like. Yeah, it's going to be a mess. It says, regardless, no results are final until the election is certified on December 2nd. So our election is November 5th, and it's not certified until December 2nd. Since the ballots get to be accepted for a week later. So, Kamala Harris, I don't know if you all listen to Comrade Kamala. I like calling her Cackling Kamala, but I will go with Comrade Kamala. I believe that is truly more fitting. I listened to her speech last night. It was awful. Of course, I don't support her. If I supported her, maybe I would like it, but I don't. And it was empty. There wasn't anything there. It reminded me of Obama because he didn't tell you anything either. And she told you a story of her childhood. Oh, she's going to tug on the heartstrings. And, and then she berated Trump. She was actually screaming about him and saying, oh, she lied. She lied and lied and lied and lied. And I was on Truth Social watching Trump post the truth about the things that she was lying on. I had a good laugh while I was watching this. So I'll tell you, I took one for the team watching that DNC. And a lot of people were quite disappointed since they had kind of said, well, we're going to have a special guest afterwards. Well, ended up Kamala was it, even though the rumors were it was Beyonce. And that didn't happen. So there were people, they're just not honest people. And there were people at that convention were not happy from what I've heard. But, Kamala Harris said that she wants to stop price gauging. I believe she meant gouging. She couldn't read that. I don't really know anyway. So she wants to stop price gouging. But, grocery stores only have a profit margin of 1.2%. And so that's what she wants to do. And other industries have 7 to 8%. But grocery stores are running on a 1.2% profit margin. And that brings to talk about this 3% Measure 118 going to a 3% tax on businesses. This would kill them. And it would surely spike grocery prices even higher, because when the business has to pay, by golly, they're going to pass that on. They're not absorbing that cost. Gosh, I feel sorry for the people who shop in our store. Heck no. If they don't make a profit, businesses, and we have a capitalist society, and businesses, you have a right to make a profit. And if they're not making a profit, they will not be in business. So if you want the business in your community, you better shop there. You can't just buy everything online, or it's going to hurt your local businesses. That's for sure. So Kamala Harris floated her plan to enact price controls because of the inflation that she helped cause. Harris-Biden administration, hello, what the heck? And so they have pushed, the Biden-Harris administration has pushed for nearly $5 trillion in extra spending projects during their term. And price controls would be a disaster for grocery stores. 100%. 100%. Oh, yeah. 50% on capital gains. Oh, my gosh, and it's unrealized capital gains. Unrealized capital gains. And I'm glad, but last night, she didn't talk about any of that. And I read that her advisors were saying, oh, Pat, I'm laughing at your comment there. Oh gosh. But she didn't talk about any of that. I had read that, and people were telling her, do not talk about those things. And it's because all she's going to do is piss off people. They're trying to gaslight Americans to hopefully that they would forget that the billions of dollars they've given to Ukraine, the economy that they have crushed. And, I read today that it's looking like our interest rates are going to come down. Personally, I'm glad about it, but I do believe it is a political ploy. Back on Measure 118, Oregon Center for Public Policy joins a broad-based opposition to Measure 118 tax measure. I'm glad to hear that. The group warns it could bring unintended consequences. You think? You think? Yeah. We have some good news. Ohio. So there's a judge had said, I think it was Arizona. You guys can help me along here. That Arizona, I think it was Arizona, not, or it could be Nevada, but a judge had said that illegals can't be on the ballot. Well, Ohio refers nearly 600 non citizen voter registrations for prosecution. And of those uh, 600, 590, actually, there's 597. They have identified 138 who allegedly cast ballots in the Ohio elections despite federal records showing they were not U.S. citizens, and they are putting them for prosecution. I recall when we had Dennis Richardson as our Secretary of State, there was like half a dozen of people because our voter registration form here in Oregon says that you are signing this on a that you all the statements are true and correct. And so I do recall that there was like half a dozen that were sought after and tried for not being lawfully here. And we need more of that. So kudos to Ohio. That's from Badlands Media that I was reading that one. Yeah, I'll tell you. So, Comrade Kamala, I just could not believe the lies and lies and lies. I saw today that Trump had said, "Oh my gosh, she had like 23 lies," you know. And in fact, I will say, right before coming on, or a little bit ago, I was watching President Trump on Newsmax. And I had also watched RFK Jr. today. Stopped what I was doing, watched his speech, listened to him very carefully. I wasn't able to see the whole thing. The program, when it started, he had already been talking, and he brought up so many great things. He lambasted the Democrats for trying to, keeping him off the ballot, all the lawfare against him and Trump and many others. And basically, I'm paraphrasing, he said that this is not America. It's okay to have people on the ballot. But the Democrats want absolute control, and they're afraid that they would lose. And and so he did. He was so he spoke so well today. And so calling out the Democrats, the lawfare, and talking about our medical, talking about the poisons that are in our food that are not in other countries, which I've traveled a lot. I lived outside of the United States for 16 years, and I was amazed to see, let's just say, a particular brand of something uh, that's, I'm not going to call out any brand, but a particular brand. And I would look at the ingredients and it said there's no MSG in it. But here in our country, and I will call out MSG, I have a horrible reaction to that. And in our country, that same brand of item has got MSG in it. In New Zealand and Australia, things that we have in our food, they're banned from the food over there. And so I really liked hearing him talk about the poisons that are in our food that are making people sick, and our children, making our children sick. He gave a bunch of statistics today, of which I cannot cite. And it was enlightening. It was refreshing because I believe he was telling the truth on that. And so he did suspend his campaign today. He did not drop out, but he suspended his campaign. And from my own research, I understand that a candidate would suspend their campaign, then the money that is in their campaign chest is still available to them. And but he has pulled out of Arizona, and he's in Pennsylvania, because he doesn't want to be on the ballot there. He doesn't want to cause any issues with the election. And he told about a fellow who called him up and said, you need to meet with Trump. Would you talk with him? Because I think you two have common ground. And after our Bobby Kennedy said, yes, I would, shortly after, Trump called him. And they had a talk. They had a good talk, he said. And then he went and met with Trump. And what they concentrated on is the things that they have in common and the things that they both agree on. And they stayed away from, and they also talked about the things they don't agree on. They set their boundaries and said, you know what, we can criticize each other on those things. We don't agree, and that's okay. And you know what? It is okay. We're not snowflakes. We can agree to disagree, and we don't have to hate one another for having differing opinions. We're not cookie cutter. We're not all going to think alike. And we shouldn't expect each other to think alike. We might be conservative in some areas and not so in others. That's okay. But I'll tell you what came out today is Bobby Kennedy Jr. loves this country. He loves this country so much, he didn't want to split the vote. And he told his supporters, if I'm on the ballot and, where I'm on the ballot, if you want to vote for me, go ahead. I don't think it'll make a difference. But where I'm not, I support Trump. So then this afternoon or this evening, before coming on, I got to watch Trump and then Bobby Kennedy Jr. go on stage with Trump. And so I listened to that, and it was great. It was great on both sides. Trump did really well, and RFK Jr. did really well. And he actually reiterated that story again. And they're going to work on the things that they agree in. And this is what you do in politics when it's not about self and it's not about being just what you want. When you have your state or your country's best interest at heart, this is how you act and this is what you do. You don't beat up the other one, and you come together and you do what's right for your country. And I'll tell you, he did today, and he is so much more elevated, in my opinion, because of what he did. And, Trump said, when I'm elected, he says, I will be making a new commission to study the assassination attempt and open up the whole files, but study even the one that, just happened last month with Trump. And I think that's a good thing. I think our nation needs the truth. We need the truth. So I'm going to post here the transcript of his epic speech. And again, it is by PJ Media. I'll tell you, it's there. I really like PJ Media. I mix it all up, all kinds of things. But so that is a transcript there that was posted tonight by Chris Queen at 5 p.m. And I'll tell you, it's the speech in entirety, and it's really good. So if you didn't get to see it, you can read it here, and it's all written, and there is there's not even so it's a written transcript. It's not a video, and he announced it was over 45 minutes. And he explained his rationale for dropping out and how he wants to help Trump and what he hopes his legacy will be. It was good, and we need more of this. We need more of this in Oregon instead of people like Michael Cross that runs for attorney general and to steal elections to help the Democrats get elected, and yet he's registered or had been before. And I will continue to call him out. He's done that in multiple times. He thwarted efforts of recall against Kate Brown. He is a Democrat operative. and he's no good. He's a liar. And he is no good. And so those type of people we have prevalent, I'm sad to say, in Oregon, and we need them gone. But they have the right to file for office. They have the right to run for office. But what we have the right to do is to call them out and to wake people up and speak the truth. And so and Bobby Kennedy, what he did today was great for America. Great for America. So, and Trump said, like this other article by Catherine Salgado, she says, this was a political shot heard around the world. And I believe that because we've seen this early on in campaigns. We've witnessed it even here in Oregon. In one of the times when Kate Brown was running for re-election, there was an independent candidate that was splitting the vote. And a week before Election Day, he dropped out. He was still on the ballot. He dropped out, and he threw his support behind Kate Brown. And that's when it showed me here in Oregon that the independent party in Oregon is Democrat. They're not neutral. People think they don't do their research. Oh, they're independent. I'm not going to be a part of any party. Oh, yeah, you are. You are. And so anywhere, whatever happened to talking about the issues and not mudslinging, I don't know about that part. Mudslinging. Did I sling any mud? I thought I just spoke the truth, Bobby. You must be talking about what's his name that I mentioned earlier, Michael Cross, the snake. Yes, yes, yes. So anyway, I'll tell you what Bobby Kennedy did today is what others should follow. And so I guess that independent guy, he did that for the Democrats, but he did it early, or late, I should say. This is where Bobby Kennedy did it early. Nobody had cast a ballot yet in the general election, and that was the benefit. Oh, thank you, Bobby. I thought you were talking about me. But this is the difference because he did it early. Nobody's cast a ballot, and he wants his supporters to be behind Trump. Let's beat the Democrats. Let's beat the Democrats. And that is exactly what he's talking about. And so, it's just, we need more of that. Where when it was the independent guy, the election, he pulled out 10 days before the election day. People had already cast their ballot. I had friends that I had been trying to convert to Republican, this one particular friend of mine, and he goes, I already voted. And I voted for that person. And he changed he says, I'll never be independent anymore. I'll never give him any more money. And he changed his vote, his registration to Republican, and he's a happy Republican today. And, but this is when you do shady deals, like the independent candidate did here in Oregon in that election. That's a shady deal. It's not genuine. This is genuine with Bob. This is my opinion. We don't have to agree to do, it's okay. It's totally okay. And something that the Democrats are trying to do, Democrats are hoping that people will forget the censorship. And in fact, today, Trump says, we and Bobby Kennedy on Trump's stage talked about the censorship. And, and Trump says, yeah, we're gonna be going after the censorship. Bobby Kennedy said, we've got to. And they never censor the truth. Well, I'm sorry, the lies. They always censor the truth. and they don't want people to hear the truth. They don't censor actual lies, and they will say truth is a lie, but it isn't. And it's the beginning of tyranny in our country by doing this censorship. Censorship is one of the biggest dang deals here. And so the Democrats are hoping that you'll forget the censorship of the Biden-Harris regime, working with the tech companies to silence the scientists and the doctors and academics and anyone who dared question the tyrannical COVID policies, violating our First Amendment rights. And Trump said we're gonna reinstate. We're going to reinstate those people, that the military, 8,000 people that lost their jobs, and give them back pay. And so there was a lot in Trump's speech. I wasn't able to watch it all. And there was a lot in Bobby Jr.'s speech as well. And so Trump has responded saying that he thanks Bobby. It was really nice. I wanted to touch on a couple other things. We have good news beyond Trump and RFK Jr., and that is 16 states have sued the Biden administration over their new amnesty program. And this is what has to happen. We have to sue. And it's a shame that we have to. It's a shame that everywhere they're able to pick and choose which laws, instead of just following the laws on the books, they're able to, and I say this for state, city, state, federal, people, they just go, well, the law, we're not going to do it like that. We're going to do it like this. In fact, you could say that for the death penalty. A state that has a death penalty and the governor comes in and goes, well, sorry, I don't believe in that. So we're not going to enforce the death penalty. Well, that's not, in my opinion, that is not for the governor to decide. The law is the law of the land, or the law of the city, the law of the county, the law of the state. Okay. And they should just be enforced. And if you don't like it, then you change the law. And so 16 states, though, are suing Biden's administration over its new program that shields hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants from deportation. And I'm really glad that they're doing that. I'll tell you, it's Texas and 15 other states filed a lawsuit today. And I'm just glad that they're doing that. We have to push back. We have to have our own lawfare, you might say. And America First Legal is co-counsel in the case, and I'm glad. So it's Texas with Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, North Dakota, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Wyoming. And yet, we have more states that are conservative, more than 16. And I believe we have 26, but I'm glad that 16 did. That's a very good, maybe it's in a particular court, and it's the courts, that all of those states are under that court's jurisdiction. That might be the case. I don't know. But I think it's a good thing. So Trump responded to RFK's endorsement, and it was good. I'll tell you. The audience at his rally today in Glendale, Arizona. I lived in Glendale, Arizona for a year. Went to a trade school there before I moved to San Diego, and went to college in San Diego. And boy, has that place grown! But the audience was chanting, "Bobby, Bobby, Bobby," and that was great for him. I think that was great for him. Need that. So I wanted to bring up a couple of other. Here's something maybe you've not heard about. The Epoch Times. The U.S. plans to start recycling nuclear waste. Used nuclear fuel is only waste if you waste it, the communications director at a recycling company said. And there is renewed interest in nuclear, and I think that's a good thing. There is also new technology that you can. Nuclear energy in America has been stifled for the past 50 years, and because of bureaucratic hurdles, but there are new ways of using nuclear fuel, and I think it's a good thing. Why store it? Waiting for the half-life. Let's use it up. Use it up. So I thought that was an interesting story. I'll post a link here for you on that because you might be interested to check it out. Then something else was, Trump shooter, that Thomas Crooks, he had 3 phones, 2 of which were encrypted. And I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen a picture of him and he was on his phone. What was he doing on his phone? Who was he talking to? I don't know. But he had encrypted accounts in multiple countries. This is also from the Epoch Times. And this article, and it is from today by Zachary Stieber. And he had accounts in Belgium and other countries. This young kid, are you kidding me? There's somebody else working with him. And they did a whole lot of scrubbing from what I heard. Today I read that 5 Secret Service agents are put on administrative leave. But this was a 19-year-old kid. And he didn't do this by himself at all. There were too many errors for it to be a coincidence. And one day, I hope we hear the truth. One day, I hope we hear the truth. Like after Trump is elected. And so, we'll see. Let's see. It says in here, Waltz highlighted the recent charges against a Pakistani national. That man is Asif Merchant, has been charged in connection with a foiled plot to assassinate public officials in the United States. But that's not tied to... Waltz also said he was disturbed that the officials who constructed the security plan for Trump's July rally have not been disciplined. So I don't know, but it's to me, very, very suspicious that this young kid, Thomas Cooks, has some encrypted accounts and encrypted phones. He didn't do this in a vacuum all by himself. I wanted to talk to you about something else, Cuba, because where we are headed here in America, if Comrade Kamala and Walz gets elected, God forbid. But if they do, what they have planned for us is communism. There's no way to say it any other way. It is communism and what she talks about. And in communist Cuba, the elderly are left to struggle on $10. Their pension is $10. So if you don't know, I've studied about Cuba, and actually I've been there. My husband and I had to stop there on our sailboat. When you're on a sailboat, you have the ability to go into any port, and we had to make repairs. So I was there we were there making a repair in Cuba. And it's went into a store that was at this marina that they wanted to keep us in. They really didn't want us leaving those grounds. And I said, well, let's see what kind of provisions you have here. There wasn't anything. Wasn't anything. And what I have learned in my studies about Cuba is the people there, they don't pay rent. They don't pay utilities. They get a pension, whether you're a physician, whether you're an attorney, about $30 a month. And that could have changed a little by now. And there was, at that time when I was there, two economies. They had a dollar economy with a dollar store, and they had a Cuban peso economy with that money was taken, and it was illegal for us to transfer money at the time. Today, you can actually exchange your money, your US dollars, for Cuban pesos, and it's quite different. And many people have private businesses, and you can thank not Fidel, you can thank Raul Castro, because he's the person who started the opening up of Cuba. But anyhow, there is people live wherever they were living at the time, and those, I will say, those that lived on the coast, especially in rural areas that had, they could fish, and those that were farmers, I'm going to say, ate better than those that lived in the cities, because they just didn't have the agricultural area to grow any food of their own. And, but they have a coupon book, a small coupon book, because I went around, rode my bicycle around, and looked at stores, and saw the people waiting in line. And so I asked them what they were waiting for, and talked. I had conversations with people there, and they were waiting for their ration of rice and beans and bread. And they got a little loaf of bread like that. They were allowed one pair of shoes a year, one pair of pants, and a top a year. Those Cubans that had family abroad were doing far better than those that didn't have any family abroad. And so this article, I'm going to post it here. It's from the Epic Times, and it is in communist Cuba, the elderly have $10, but they have this coupon book I was telling you about. They're not necessarily eating meat. And when they do go to a market, let's hope that they have family and they're living with their family. A lot of that is there in Cuba, that it's multi-generational under one household. But if you don't, like I know people that have outlived their children. And if you've been fortunate enough to live a long life and your children die, then what are you? You're going to be dang hungry. And when I went to an open air market there, it wasn't a variety there was lots of vegetables. Oh gosh, lots of vegetables. But the meat department, if they slaughtered pig, then everybody's eating pig. There was no selection. If they slaughtered a cow, which that's a lot of money, then everybody was eating beef. And it was not a selection. It was quite eye-opening, and I've traveled a lot in some underdeveloped countries, and it was a very eye-opening going into Cuba. I really liked it. The people were quite nice, and they have a black market everywhere. And actually, I saw a fellow, Charlie and I, my husband Charlie, saw a fellow carrying a piece of styrofoam, and it looked like the size of a twin mattress. And he was along the Malecon, And I said, Charlie, I think that guy's going to go slip in the ocean. It's in broad daylight. And yes, he did. We watched him go slip in the ocean. He wasn't going fishing. He was fleeing Cuba. And the water, the currents will take you to America. I hope he made it. There's a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of people that have done that. And there's a lot of people that have died trying to do it. And I talk about this because this is what's coming. Like on Wednesday, I talked about this Chinese physician that I had seen on Tuesday. And she said that, yeah, that was on Tuesday. She says, no, I see what's happening here in America. And it scares me to death. And so we have to not shut our eyes to that possibility. We have to talk about it. And we have to bring awareness, because what is coming, it sounds like, oh yeah, everybody's going to be equal. But you heard Comrade Kamala say, well, some people, we'll have to raise them up. Others are going to have to go share some, and we have to raise it so everybody's equal. We're not equal. We don't start equal. We don't need everybody to be equal. Not everybody's a chief. Not everybody's an Indian. And I mean that in, bosses and workers, not in a discriminatory way by any means. But it's okay in a free market society. Not everybody's on the same level playing field. And to some people, it would sound very attractive. And it isn't. It isn't at all. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. It is having seen, I was in Venezuela before it fell to communism, and saw that every business had a rifle. And I mean, every business had an armed guard outside. From the donut shop, donut shop, to the grocery store. And then, of course, the bank had like 4 some inside, some outside. And you needed a wheelbarrow for the money because it wasn't any good. We're headed that way. We are headed that way. We have to, I'm going to ask everybody, you have to get out of your comfort zone and speak about why you would vote in support of freedom for this nation than falling for communism, because that's where we're headed. And one world order. This is the one world order plan. And the World Economic Forum, they want, and the World Health Organization, they want treaties that they could actually control America. And you're dang right. Fight, fight, fight. We have to, nobody's coming to save us. It's us. So I hope I inspired you a little bit. Hope I educated you a little bit. It's because I've seen a lot, I guess, that gives me even more to go, oh yeah, I don't want that. Been there, done, seen that. I don't want that for our nation, for our state. We have to do something. You can't be well, somebody's got to do something. What are the Republicans doing? Well, if you're Republican, what the hell are you doing? That's what I say. What are you doing? The saying was, don't ask what you can do for your country, or don't ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And right now you need to fight for it. Have a good night, everybody. Have a great weekend. I hope your family all stays safe and happy. Give them all a hug.